Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending today's monthly UK demonstration. I am coming to you from our office today in Dublin. So I want to go ahead and kick this webinar off with a question, and that's why are we talking today? And ultimately, as the saying goes, brand or be branded. So in a nutshell, there's no other place on the internet that shows both the employer and employee perspective on why your company is an employer of choice. I'm of the belief that the best employer brand is a combination of the employer value proposition and the employee value proposition. If you add to that your corporate and commercial brand reputation, I think you have what will ultimately encapsulate an accurate employer brand. So we're going to dive further into that, but before we do, I want to go ahead and go through some technical tips and webinar housekeeping for all of you attendees out there. So first thing is that you can connect to the audio using your computer's microphone and speakers, or alternatively, you can select the use telephone option after you join the webinar. And then all of the lines, with the exception of mine, will be muted to avoid any background noise. And then that being said, if at any time you do have any questions, you should share them by navigating to the right side where you can see the question pane and go ahead and put them in there at any point throughout the webinar. I typically get a range of questions, and hopefully some I will answer along the way. But in the interest of time, I'll answer the majority of questions at the end during our Q&A. And then finally, I can also confirm a recording of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel should you want to share with your colleagues and or peers. Then, for all you social butterflies out there, we definitely encourage and would like you to join our conversation. If you're online, go ahead and use our hashtag at GDChat, or you can tweet us at Glassdoor UK. So it's hashtag GDChat or at Glassdoor UK. Cool. So before we jump in, I'll go ahead and introduce myself quickly. My name is Lauren High, and I manage the EMEA Sales Development team here in Dublin. As you can see, there's a picture, so you can put a face to the name and the voice. A little bit about my background is that I've been at Glassdoor just around 2.5 years now. I started out as a sales development representative, and now I manage the sales development team that launched in Dublin in February of last year. And then as you can see today, I also help out our marketing team in spreading the word about Glassdoor. Here's an agenda of what I plan to cover today. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about today's candidates and their decision-making process. Then we're going to speak about your employer brand, and maybe even start with what exactly is an employer brand. And then I will show you some of what you can do immediately on Glassdoor, some quick wins. We'll move to a live-to-site demonstration, and I can show you a little bit about how Glassdoor looks, a comparison between our free features and then our partner solutions. And finally, as I did say, I'll open it up for any Q&A at the end. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So today's candidates spend more time researching companies during their job search. So what that means is that the days of blindly applying for a job are long gone. This is because today's candidates treat their job search, as they should, as a critical decision, one where they're going to rely on reviews, research, and referrals before they make a decision on where they want to work. So that means that the job search experience has changed, and that's because how we successfully attract talent has changed as well. Job seekers behave much like consumers today. So with more access to information than ever before, job seekers are now carefully considering their choices. So if you think about how we go online to research before we buy, you'll do Google search, Amazon, TripAdvisor. What we found is that 81% of shoppers conduct research online before buying. 7 in 10 seek out reviews before purchasing. So even for relatively small and significant decisions, we do a ton of research first. So when buying something online, we'll go to at least 3 websites before purchasing. So if you think about the kind of research that we're doing for incredibly or for smaller decisions, think about the type of research that we're putting in for incredibly important life decisions, like choosing a job. So it's no surprise that this research increases immensely with job seekers. We found that on average, job seekers use 18 sources and look at 7 to 8 reviews to research before applying. So job seekers today are wanting to learn some very specific and critical information about a company before applying, before they go in an interview, or even down to the point of accepting an offer. And they do this because they want to get a window to learn what it's really like to work for a company. They want to get a feel for the company culture, understand the values of the leadership team, what the career advancement opportunities would be, and this is all before they even apply or accept an offer. Similarly, consumers want to know what kind of company you are when they choose to spend money with you. They want to understand how you treat your employees and if you're a reputable organization. So both job seekers and consumers are consulting a variety of sources that provide context to their search. So think of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and sites like Glassdoor. So for you as an employer, it's really important to be involved in the conversation on where job seekers and consumers are doing their research. What we found is that because of the wealth of information that's on the internet and job boards, social media, candidates have higher expectations. So job seekers want way more information than just the basic job description that you as an employer are putting up online. We did a survey in 2014 through Glassdoor, and we highlighted the top 5 things that job seekers want to know when they do their research. And the first is, what makes your company an attractive place to work? The second is, what is compensation like? The third are, what are the benefits? The fourth is the mission, vision, and values of the company. And the fifth is they just want to understand the basic company information. And they're just not looking at it from what the company is saying about themselves. They want to hear everyone's perspective. So although typically friends and family are the most trusted at 72%, what we found is that content provided by employees is the number 2 most trusted source of information on a company. So when job seekers are online doing their research, they're not demanding a company be perfect, but they do expect a level of transparency and authenticity from employers. So we found from a survey in 2014 by Glassdoor was that 90% say they want to work for a company that embraces transparency. And why is that so? That's because we all know that where you work is going to be the most important decision you'll make in your life. And candidates feel with it the exact same way. So with that in mind, the way that candidates search for jobs today has changed. And here are a couple of stats to support this claim, is that 80% of recruiters describe today's talent market as candidate-driven, and then 75% turn to peers before making their own decision about a brand. Then employees are 3 times more credible than the CEO when talking about working conditions. So all these claims really here support why it's so important to have a proper depiction of your company online, because this is where candidates today are going. And the reality of it all is that people want and expect transparency. Every day we're making better and more informed decisions based on reviews, and that's because often in the past our expectations just didn't match reality. As consumers, we all turn to each other on sites like Amazon, Yelp, Zoopla, Expedia, and TripAdvisor to make more informed decisions about product purchases, where to eat, property, and our next holiday. So now with Glassdoor, we're applying that exact same idea to employment. We're helping people make decisions through the power of information transparency, and we're passionate about it. Glassdoor's mission is to help people ever find a job and company that they love. What I want to do now is walk you a little bit through the candidate journey on Glassdoor and the decision-making process. And I'll highlight at every step where Glassdoor influences your candidate. So at the left-hand side, you'll see the awareness piece, and that's where the majority of employers like you invest in channels like LinkedIn, Indeed, and staffing firms. Glassdoor provides job advertising to increase candidate flow in this initial awareness area. Then, once a candidate is made aware of your job, the next question they ask themselves is, okay, do I actually want to work for this employer? And now we'll move to the consideration, and this is where Glassdoor's unique business value starts for the employer. Glassdoor is the only vendor that is able to influence the candidate at every step as they consider you as their employer of choice. Glassdoor does this through infusing employees' reviews, interviews, salaries, benefits, and ratings with your company's unique employer brand so that candidates can make smarter and more informed decisions. So as we move from consideration, they'll come back time and time again to understand what the interview process looks like. And then once they get that offer, they're going to come back and cross-reference on Glassdoor to make sure they're getting that competitive salary and that is a forward step for their career, and then all the way down to the point where they're actually accepting that position. A little bit about Glassdoor and the content on our site. We have been growing at a rapid rate. We have over 13 million reviews and over 700,000 companies on our website. Research on our job seeker activity has shown us that the majority of Glassdoor users are job seekers at 89%, and they're actively looking for a new job or would consider better opportunities. So I think now would be a good time to ask a question, and that's, what exactly is an employer brand? And I'm going to go ahead and borrow a great quote from the founder and CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Jeff says, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. The room today is very much the internet and social media, and then for the purpose of today's conversation, that room is Glassdoor. So ultimately, if you as the employer are not online telling your story, someone else is doing that for you. So I ask you as you're sitting there today listening to me that you would just take a moment to consider, what is your employer brand? And it might be kind of a hard thing to put your finger on, so here are some questions that you can ask yourself when you think about your company. The first is, would your current employees recommend your company to a friend? What are employees and job seekers alike saying about you on social? And then what is your company rating on Glassdoor? All good things for you to think about when it comes to employer brand. So the reality is that 69% of workers surveyed would not take a job at a company that had a bad reputation, even if they were unemployed. On top of that, Glassdoor found that 84% would consider actually leaving their current job if they were offered another role with a company that had an excellent corporate reputation. The reality of this information is that job applicants have access to more information about a potential employers than ever before. So now, candidates can weigh their options. They can compare the benefits and salary and decide which opportunity and employer are right for them. In today's market, it's as much about the candidate interviewing you as you are interviewing them. So now when top talent comes in for an interview, you can think about why this company is the best fit for them. Maybe you can do your research on Glassdoor on the company they came from. You can let them know how your company is better in those areas. So now you're probably wondering, what are Glassdoor solutions? What do we offer to you as the employer? And I'll keep it high level here, but we don't really have a one-size-fits-all approach, and we do create tailored solutions based on each company's individual needs. So having said that, our product line has three main components, and the fastest growing component is job advertisements, and this area targets our high-quality, well-researched candidates based on search behavior and profile information. Next, we have display advertising. The purpose of display advertising is really to help you build brand awareness and influence job seekers all throughout Glassdoor and the site. And then the last is our enhanced profile. And this helps companies influence job seekers and tell your unique employee story. So this gives you the chance to make your Glassdoor profile more well-rounded, so they're not just hearing from the current and past employees, they're hearing from you as the employer. And then lastly, we have insight into analytics. Glassdoor collects a ton of information about the types of people who are visiting your page. So we have candidate demographics, and we're able to break this up over time by previous or current employees and look at employee sentiment. So here's the area where you're going to be able to track overall brand awareness, analyze employee sentiment, and then you do have the opportunity to also benchmark yourself against employers so that ideally you can highlight and see areas you're doing really strong, really well in, and then areas for improvement. So I know I'm talking all about this, so what I wanted to do now is jump to our live to site demo and just show you what this actually looks like. Great. I'm going to start here as a candidate. So I encourage you all to do this today. Put yourself in the candidate's shoes and see how they consume information about you. So I'm just going to say, I'll say working at DS Smith. Here we go. The first thing that pops up is Glassdoor. First two that pop up are Glassdoor. So I'll click into their page. The first thing I want to highlight is this is they're operating from a free employer account. DS Smith is not a partner. I can see that because one, you can see this little red dot here as no one has claimed a free employer account. So first things first, today, go online, check your page, make sure that you or someone within your company has claimed your free employer account. As I scroll down, the first thing that I notice is that I'm being targeted by other jobs that they think are relevant for me on the right-hand side of this page. Then as I continue to go down, they have added some photos here, but then I go straight into the review. So I'm really not hearing anything from the employer here, and this is all run by the previous and current employees and the content they contribute to this page. So really quickly, I will recap what you can do with this page. Once you claim that account, you can add a company logo, update your basic company information, add some company photos, oops, and then also, last but not least, almost most importantly, you can respond to reviews. So those are the main things that you can do with this free employer account, and I encourage you all to do that. And now I'm going to hop over to AutoTrader UK, who's one of our partners, and let's scroll to the top of the page. So first thing I notice, they have a branded cover photo that's actually a video. Scroll down, they've connected all of their social media, so it's a one-stop shop here. We've got LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all here. As I continue to scroll down, some company updates. And then this is actually my favorite section, is the why work for us. So they've highlighted 5 areas that they want job seekers to see when they research AutoTrader UK. And they go ahead and use those. And then it's not until the bottom that I get to the review portion. Also, with our partners, we have allows them to choose a featured review, so they can decide a review that really they think highlights what's so great about working there and filter that to the top of the page. So the biggest thing here is that it's all fully branded with AutoTrader UK's heavily invested in employer branding materials. So that is a really quick look at the main differentiators here between our branded employer page and partnered solutions versus our free employer account. I'm going to go ahead and jump back in to my webinar. Really the biggest takeaway from here is that it's really important, no matter what the size of your company is that you go online and claim your free employer account and get involved in the conversation that's happening on Glassdoor. So we have plenty of additional resources available once you log into that account, as illustrated on this slide. And you'll find everything from webinars on demand to free ebooks and guides. What we're really trying to do is create a portal that employers can use as a place for thought leadership, so I encourage you all to log into there and check it out. So, again, key takeaway today is claim your free employer account. Once you do that, you can go ahead and take advantage of that account and manage your company information, respond to reviews. You can add a company logo and also some photos to get insight into what it's like to work for your company. And you can understand a little bit about the demographics of the candidates who are researching you today. So all of this you're able to do with our free employer account. We also have a badge that our employers page called Open Company. So once you log into your account, you can also look at the steps to do that, as you can see right at the very bottom left-hand side of the screen. And that basically tells job seekers and your employees that you embrace transparency. Great. So I know we covered a lot of content today, so at this point I encourage you to put any questions you have into the right-hand screen, and I'll answer those as soon as we wrap up here. But in conclusion, what I really want you all to take away today is that Glassdoor wants to help you brand, influence, and hire. And we do this by amplifying and communicating your employer brand, EVP, and ultimately hire and influence quality candidates. Today we spoke specifically about the enhanced profile and job solution, and that's to help you overcome your challenges and accomplish your goals. But the next steps for you, again, would be to claim your free employer account so you can access some of the data I highlighted today. And then should you require a more bespoke and more detailed demonstration, please feel free to reach out to me. You can see my email on the screen, lauren.hein@glassdoor.com, and I can connect you with the appropriate person. I can confirm that you can expect an email from us within 24 hours and that a recording of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel. And then again, if you have any pressing questions, now's a really good opportunity to ask them. I'm going to go ahead and stay online for a couple more minutes to address any questions you might have. And then for those of you who are leaving the call now, thank you very much for joining and enjoy the rest of your day. And one sec, I'm going to check out the questions and I'll hop back on. Okay, so the first question is, what is the cost between the two profiles? And one, I will clarify, we do have a free employer account, which I had recommended everyone claim, and that's completely free to do those basic things of updating the profile and also responding to reviews. I actually want to say, I think actually that's the biggest perk of our account, is that you have the opportunity to apply it to those reviews. But the free employer, or the enhanced profile and pay-to-for solutions, those are the only place that you're going to get those, the fully branded profile with solely your company's brand on it and your open positions. And as far as cost goes, we don't have a one-size-fits-all model, and we create our solutions based exactly on the employer's needs. So we have a range of options. If you are interested in understanding a little bit about our pricing structure, please again reach out to me today, and I will set up the right person who can get you that information. So another question is, we have a group structure and wants to know if we can either set up separate pages for the 5 companies in our group, or if you can, they can be linked somehow. And the answer is that if you're all operating under one domain and one site, but you're kind of different subsidiaries, we can connect those pages to make sure that's communicated through your Glassdoor. But if you're all separate operating entities, you can have separate Glassdoor pages. It can be tricky though, and I don't have all the details around this specific scenario. So again, I would definitely recommend reaching out to me if that doesn't clarify your question. But my real answer is that we do work with different companies that are in a group structure, and are either connected or 5 separate companies, and we're able to accommodate that through Glassdoor. Great, and then can you send out the materials from today's session? Yes, I can confirm that a recording and also a link to claim your free employer account will be sent out today after the webinar. The next question, do you have to be a paying client to respond to reviews? And again, the answer is no. Like I just said, both not paid and non-paid people can respond to reviews. So, and on that note, I see another question about, do you encourage people to respond to reviews? And the answer is yes. We find that 70% of job seekers are more inclined to go in an interview for a company that responds to reviews even if they're negative versus a company that doesn't respond at all. So we find that potential job seekers really do appreciate a company who's involving themselves in the conversation. I wouldn't recommend just going rogue and starting to respond. I do recommend having a conversation with your leadership team and discussing, what kind of voice you want to use in those responses, and then moving from there. I know for Glassdoor, for example, our head of HR responds to any of the reviews left in HR. Our head of marketing responds to any of the marketing reviews. So we do practice what we preach. So we really encourage all the people that we partnered and non-partnered to get involved and in that conversation that's happening on Glassdoor. All right, I know I'm coming close to an end here, so I'll take one more, and it's do you offer localized profiles? And the answer is we do. If you, for example, Glassdoor operates out of the U.S. and also here in Dublin and UK, and so we obviously have a different brand that we're putting out to people in the UK versus in the States. So we are able to accommodate global brands and those localized profiles with your individualized needs. Okay, it looks like I am getting to my time. If there's any questions I didn't get to, please feel free to just email me directly afterwards, and I'm happy to answer those. And other than that, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.